Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Blackwater podcast. Just for some context, this was recorded on the 16th of March 2025. So if there's anything we mention of albums coming out, some news that may not have broke because we did record this about a month and a half ago. That's the reason why some stuff may be outdated, is because we record stuff before and then release them. Also, for this episode, we only had three hosts. It was me, it was Vitor, and it was B1dd0, because Nick was ill. And this will be something that we do going forwards, where if someone is ill, as long as there are three of us, if there's two of us, we won't record. But if there's three of us, then we will record an episode, but just with three hosts. You won't get all four of us every week, because otherwise we're going to find this really, really hard to record every time. And also, this was the first episode we actually recorded, so even more so than the last one, we're still trying to find our way. We're still trying to, find how we want to present this properly. So if we seem like we're still working stuff out on this episode, that's why. In this episode, we will talk about our favorite albums from the years ending with 0. So 70, 80, 90, of course, going on. We talk about a 2025 album, and then we talk about From Mars to Sirius, which is what the spinning wheel gave us. So without further ado, I'll leave you on with Pastors and enjoy the episode.
Hello, beautiful people, beautiful listeners. My name is Vitor Barufi. I'm here joined by my beautiful co-hosts, two of three. We're four members. Connor,
Hello?
mostly known as Koinoi on Twitter, right? And Hugo, or otherwise known as B1dd0, also on Twitter. These guys obviously are more seasoned on Twitter than I am. But we were just sitting down on Twitter and, just doing what we do on Twitter, just talking shits for giggles. And we realized, why don't we actually do something productive with our time, right? Something fun, more personal. And here we are now. Obviously, like I said earlier, this is only 3 out of 4. Our other co-host is our lovely ball farm monkey, okay, Nick, or others known as Nick. All right. But yeah, what's up with you guys? How are you doing?
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Yeah, just for context for listeners, but I know this isn't going to come out first, but this is our first time recording. So if we're getting a hang of something weird,
Nick's ill, search on this one, and then we're decided to record this one first. So if we're still getting the formats ready, if we're still getting, stuff sorted out, this is purely the reason. We're work stuff out as we go, hopefully get better at it.
Yeah,
we're still obviously getting to know each other's tastes and how to work together, right? So it's a process, right? But I think we're all excited for this, right? I know I am, for sure.
Yeah. So you not been into any gigs or stuff recently?
No gigs for me recently. I do have 2 gigs, 2 concerts lined up. They're not as small as like them to be. I prefer smaller venues. The next one that I have lined up is in June, and just hear me out, okay, guys? It's Coldplay, okay, in June.
I'd rather go.
Listen, it's a family thing. I also like Coldplay. Not what I listen to the most in my free time, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun. My sister especially looking forward to it. And in October, I have a concert in Atlanta. Going now. I live in South Florida, so to Atlanta, it's about I think a 10-hour drive. I think my dad, myself, and a friend of ours were going there to see Steven Wilson. Obviously, you two know I'm a big Steven Wilson guy, so I'm super looking forward to it. It will be my second time seeing him.
The European mind cannot comprehend a 10-hour journey.
Yeah, I mean,
I can.
B1dd0 complains about however long it takes to get to wherever it is Buckle Rock is.
Yeah, that's longer than a 10-hour journey, bro. Like a 14-hour journey.
I'm flying in there.
Yeah, well, it's a 14-hour car drive. I can't fly over there.
The one thing about the States is it's absolutely massive. I mean, it's adjacent states, by the way. I'm not going to New York, and I'm still in the South, so massive country.
10-hour trip is me going across my entire country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've only ever lived in 2 countries, Brazil and the U.S., and I unfortunately cannot really. I would prefer that, smaller, more compact place to live in. But I mean, Brazil is obviously also very, very massive.
Very true.
But let's get away from boring Brazil. Okay, I hope I don't have any fellow Brazilians listening, but get to the actual good stuff. Why everyone is here. I mean, what do we have first lined up, Connor?
Well, we're gonna start unless Bido has any concerts or stuff he's.
I'm gonna see Tribulation.
Ooh, that's not. Actually, I saw OPAF. I saw them in Louisiana, in New Orleans specifically. November, I think it was, and Tribulation opened for them, and it was a very welcome surprise. I did not know them at all before that, and it was a very, very welcome surprise. I think. Yeah, have you ever seen them live or no?
No, this will be my first time.
Yeah, you're in for a good one. They absolutely killed it.
Tribulation. I don't think I've ever listened to them. I've heard of them.
They're like they're like gothic rock mixed with extreme metal.
Yeah.
All right. And
definitely.
Their 2024 album is basically just gothic rock with harsh vocals.
Yeah. And it's great. I'll tell you. They put up a show. Awesome. They dress up and everything. It's really nice to see.
I'll have to give them a listen. I spent last night in a dingy pub seeing a Running Wild cover band, which was very fun. Saw a Merciful Fate cover band play "Don't Break the Oath" from beginning to end, which was very cool.
That's nice. That's dope.
And then they played Evil and Curse of the Pharaohs. So basically all the best Merciful Fate songs. And they did it very well. And I brought my non-metal friend there, and he had a lot of fun too.
It's very dope. I recently just bought my first Merciful Fate LP as well. I think I showed it to you guys.
Which one?
Yeah, it was also "Don't Break the Oath." So.
Yes, I wish I could, see, proper Merciful Fate play that album from beginning to end, but seeing a cover band play songs like the Oath and so good.
Well, my dad was fortunate enough to see Merciful Fate twice in one day. Well, it wasn't Merciful Fate twice in one day, but he got to see King Diamond play his solo set and Merciful Fate back to back in one day. So obviously he had a great time. My dad has been to plethora of concerts.
That's very lucky. And just on the Coldplay thing, Coldplay were the first band I was taught to hate by my dad because he hated the singer's voice.
I mean, I personally don't have anything against Coldplay. They have a bunch of prog-like aspects in their earlier works, and they're not their most recent album, but what's the album called? I'm blanking out right now, but not their latest album, the second to last album. It includes a song called Coloratura, which to anyone who likes progressive rock, it is very, very worthwhile to listen to.
Music of the Spheres.
Yes, that would be the name. Yep.
All right.
But most specifically, Coloratura. The rest of the record doesn't really touch on progressive rock. I only listened to the rest of the record once, and it was very poppy kind of. Coloratura, however, it really reminded me of and I say this because Coldplay has really strong ties to Porcupine Tree. I read it one day where, what is the lead singer's name?
I don't know.
It's Chris.
Chris Martin. It was Chris Martin, of course. I think I read it somewhere. Yeah, he's a big fan of Steven Wilson and vice versa. And I also think I saw Theo Lindemann from Rammstein at a Coldplay concert. So I guess the dudes look just like Coldplay, Mostly their early work, though. They get very poppy after A Rush of Blood to the Head.
Yeah, I've heard their first couple albums are good, but
yeah,
I
have the Parachutes LP, their very first album. It was actually a gift.
I've had to hear their songs on the radio all the time.
I hear you.
They're everywhere. You cannot escape them. I've had to hear what are their biggest hits, like Well,
Yellow, right?
yeah, and Viva La Vida.
Viva La Vida. Yeah, but Viva La Vida is one of their weaker songs to me. It really is.
There are other singles that I know of theirs, but Fix You's awful.
Fix You.
That's everywhere in the UK. Like, you know those what's it called? Like when they do like charity stuff, and you know, like they have like those like that's the song that's always on those.
I hear you. Well, I liked them. They also gave me a proper introduction to music when I was little. It was the very first band that I recognized, and I was like, oh, I actually like this. It was Iron Maiden. But Coldplay was also one of the very first ones.
Was it modern Iron Maiden that you heard, or did you fall asleep to that?
Come on, man.
Maiden was the band that got me into metal. I'll say that because there's a game I was playing, and the song was what was it? One of the songs was "Run to the Hills," and I kept playing that level over and over again.
Run to the Hills. Okay, but let me draw the line here. Run to the Hills tires me. Okay, like I've listened to Run to the Hills so many times. I'm over it.
It's still a banger.
Yeah, sure, but I would rather listen.
I never already made the songs, but
I mean, I understand you do, but I would rather listen to like 50 other Maiden songs over Run to the Hills.
So, with that out of the way, we're going to go on to the main bit of the episode for today, which is an idea that I'm pretty sure came from B1dd0, and that is we're going to pick our favorite album from every round year. Now, that sounds like a really, really weird way, and I don't know how we've phrased it in titles and stuff, but the idea is, what is your favorite album from 1970, 1980, 1990, 2000, 2010, and 2020? And probably do this in the future with the other years.
71, right? 81.
But yeah, so we'll go through them, go through all our picks. We might share some, we might not. I feel like there are some years
we might hate some picks, right?
Yeah, we might. But I think go through them, maybe pick a few after we go through each of them, pick a few honorable mentions for albums that could have made it but didn't for whatever reason. And yeah. So should we go B1dd0, then Vitor, then me, and go around like that?
Sounds good.
That's all right.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so B1dd0, lead us off with your pick for 1970.
Well, my pick, it's maybe a little bit basic, but it's In Rock, Deep Purple.
Okay.
For me. And I mean, it's just a classic. I mean, I really don't want to. There's not a whole lot you can really say about it that hasn't already been said. It's just it's an all-around good album. I mean, again, Richie Blackmore's guitar work is obviously great. I like the vocals. It's pretty influential. I mean, it's not really metal, but it definitely helped influence bands in the future.
Yeah, kind of like Speed King's metal.
Yeah, like it's not like a fully metal album, but it definitely has like
it's a step forward from what was happening in the 60s.
Yeah, exactly.
So then it's my turn now for 1970, correct?
Yes.
Yep. Well, surprise, I have Paranoid. Okay. I mean, this album kind of speaks for itself, right? Obviously, Paranoid by Black Sabbath. It's, again, I just talked about it, right? One of those albums that I talked about Iron Maiden and Coldplay just now. Albums that kind of changed me early in my life, and this was one of them. My dad doesn't listen to much Black Sabbath now, but when I was around 5, 6, he would blast us in the car, and I mean, how do you not like it, right? I mean, we with your dad in the car and blasting. I mean, I remember my very first time listening to Iron Man, for instance. I was like, Dad, like, who's saying that, right? But I was like into it, and I just, got home that same day and put it on YouTube and just listened to it. And I was young. I was 6. I love this album. I listen to it frequently. It completely revolutionized the genre. It's still relevant today, obviously. Absolutely love this record.
If I speak, I'm in trouble, I think it's the phrase that will get brought up there for me.
Yeah.
I like Paranoid. I just think it's severely overrated. I prefer every other one of the first.
I probably agree. I prefer Volume 4, probably. It's probably my favorite Black Sabbath album. But it's an album that a lot of emotional value, at least to me.
Yeah, I made the mistake of coming to it after I'd listened to Master of Reality and Sabbath Release
You
Sabbath,
see, it's
the debut.
yeah, Master Reality is just better.
But yeah, it does have Fairies Wear Boots, which is one of my favorite Black Sabbath songs. And it does have Pigs, and it does have Electric Funeral.
Yep.
The rest of the album I could do without, but those 3 songs are phenomenal.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I do. I also agree that it's overrated, but I don't think it's as bad as you say it is.
Yeah, I kind of overhype how bad I think it is. I do like it, but I just think compared to other Black Sabbath albums, it's just a bit of a step below. I think, especially considering I love the debut so much.
Yeah.
My favorite album, 1970. I'm actually going to agree with B1dd0 and go Deep Purple in rock. I think
Completely fair.
I was very tempted to go for Gentle Giant's debut because I think that is a phenomenal prog album.
That was my runner up too.
I love Gentle Giant.
And I was very tempted to go for Black Sabbath purely for it's a great album, but how it was basically the first metal album. I mean, people can argue about, Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix being before it, but that I think is the first true metal album.
Yeah.
But In Rock is an album, especially over the past couple months, I've just been listening to so much Deep Purple, and specifically In Rock. I think Into the Fire
is so good.
The Fire is one of the best of their songs. I'd argue it's actually their heaviest album, at least in the early era.
Okay.
Because songs like Flight of the Rat and stuff like that are just so good. Child in Time, I Stand By, is one of the best songs of all time. It's so good, and the way it builds. And also, as much as I love Richard Blackmore, one of my favorite guitarists of all time, John Lord is the most underrated member of Deep Purple. His keyboards are so good on all my stuff, but this album specifically. But as B1dd0 said, there's not much you can say about this. It is just one of those classic albums that everybody knows is classic. And I think it does actually get overshadowed by Machine Head quite a bit. But,
yeah, they're both great though, to be fair.
Yeah, but I prefer In Rock. Anyone else got any other 1970 albums that you want to just mention?
Well, the Black Sabbath debut as well. I think is a worth mention, obviously. What does you guys have?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said too, Gentle Giant.
Yeah, Gentle Giant.
I really wanted to take that too, but I think In Rock, it's too iconic to not take it.
Well, Time and a Word as well from Yes is also
that's a good. It's not as good as like the later stuff, but it is. I had Very Heavy, Very Humble by Uriah Heep, which in my opinion, alongside Black Sabbath and In Rock, is the first kind of.
I love Uriah Heep. I was fortunate enough to see them live.
I saw them live, but they were phenomenal.
And Benefit. It's so old, but they're so heavy. They're so heavy live.
And especially Very Heavy, Very Humble. So many songs from the debut are so good.
Yeah.
And I was also going to say Benefit by Jethro Tull. Not the best Jethro Tull album.
I completely forgot about Jethro Tull, yeah.
They'd peak on later stuff, but Ian Anderson's and Jethro Tull, as we were recording this, just released an album last week, and it's great.
It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
It's really good. It's really good.
It's really good. They you can tell they went for an aesthetic of. We might talk about. Someone might pick it on a later episode, so I won't go too far into it. But they obviously went for an idea of let's record music that you'd hear in a tavern, and they just nailed it.
And I also felt like they want to go lighter on Ian's vocals,
which they understand Ian's voice isn't what it used to be,
exactly.
And don't use it as much. They're very.
They wrote around it so well.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's actually doing pretty well for them because I've seen quite a lot of people talking about it. Yeah. Now, on to the year that I would argue is one of the best years in metal. Personally, I know people will probably agree with that. Mm-hmm. But we're moving on to 1980. And B1dd0, what's your favorite album of 1980?
I mean, it's Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath. It's just like with In Rock. I mean, it's just a classic. I mean, there's not really much that I can say about it that hasn't already been said. It's pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, it's Ronnie James Dio, one of the best vocalists of all time. Tony Iommi, he's a fucking great guitarist, and his guitar work on this album is amazing. It's kind of a short but sweet album. It only has 8 songs, and it's only 39 minutes long. But every song is perfect, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every song is just amazing, and it's just easily one of the best traditional heavy metal albums ever made. And yeah, I mean, there's not really much more to say about it, to be honest.
Yeah, in the immortal words, more on that later.
Yeah.
My pick is Permanent Waves by Rush. Quite similar to my experience with Black Sabbath, but I mean, personally, I cannot compare this to Black Sabbath. This is far superior to Black Sabbath. Rush, to me, has what's probably the most complete discography of any band ever, and this is probably top 2, top 3 for me out of their discography. So to me, that's saying a lot. It's a short album. It's about little less under 40 minutes, I think.
35, what I've got up here.
Yeah, it's not the longest album, but I mean every single song is phenomenal. And similarly to Black Sabbath, I remember seeing the album cover when I was little, and I saw the lady in the front, and everything's so chaotic in the back, and I thought it was interesting. I asked my dad to put it on, and the music is not quite like that. It's very hypnotizing, kind of philosophical in a way, right? I absolutely love this album. It's very technical, very especially for 1980. But obviously, I love Geddy Lee's work in every single album. I love New Period, so I love this album from the bottom of my heart, really.
You know the story of the album cover or not?
I actually do not.
Do you not know that there's it's just a massive, all of them are jokes?
For Rush, yes.
There's a guy, the guy waving in the background. It's a permanent wave. The woman's hair is a wave. There's a wave in the background. It's
okay. And the dress is waving, right?
The dress is it's one of those where if you actually look at it, I'm guessing the newspaper says something that has a wave or something.
Yeah.
Just like moving pictures with the.
Just look at Signals, right? It's a good example. Moving pictures, right? They're literally moving pictures.
Pictures, yeah. I think the pictures are of films. Also, it's something like that. It's another one of those where no, it's the people are crying because they're being moved by the pictures.
Yeah,
that's the joke.
Rush is great.
Yeah, and my pick, if you can tell already, is also going to be the same as B1dd0 again. We've got 2 for 2 here. Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath. And one thing I'll say about our picks this year is that I feel like both Heaven and Hell and Permanent Waves were transition albums for said bands. I feel like 1980 is a very big year of bands kind of transitioning into a new period. And if you couldn't transition, that was when you kind of died.
Yeah, metal was moving very rapidly around that time.
Sabbath had to transition. Ozzy had to transition. AC/DC had to transition. Priest had to transition with British Steel. Rush had to transition. And very much a year of glory to get heavier. A lot of bands were either getting lighter or getting heavier, and I think Black Sabbath chose the perfect way of transitioning. You lose your vocalist, you lose the person everyone says is the best member. You replace them with an even better singer.
Yeah.
And make one of the greatest metal albums of all time. I was very tempted to go for Blizzard of Oz. I do think that both sides of the split released 2 of the best albums of all time. But I think Heaven and Hell just kind of pips out of the post. I will say, I'm not going to go too far into it because saying songs like Heaven and Hell is a great song is like saying, something complete. obvious because of course it is. But
Right.
I think "Walk Away" is one of the most underrated Black Sabbath songs. I think that song is
You know what? I agree.
such a nice groove to it,
I
and
probably agree,
Jesus'
yeah.
bass on that song is phenomenal.
Yeah, it has the least streams out of all the songs on Spotify on that album.
It's got the lowest rating on album of the year, so it's very much the dark horse of the album, in my opinion. I think that people, not going to name any names, that say that only the singles are the good songs.
Yeah, I think I wonder who you're talking about.
It's songs like "Wishing Well." That's basically proto speed metal. That's one of the fastest songs. And
Yeah.
"Lonely as the Word" is so doomy and it's so good.
Yeah, it's great.
I'd argue it's their second best album behind Sabotage, but it's close to being my favorite Sabbath
I
album.
agree with you, except swap Sabotage to Sabbath Bloody Sabbath.
Anyone else got any honorable mentions, or there's a lot to take from this year?
You just said you said a lot of them. You talked about British Steel at ECDC, right? I think those were really the highlights of 1980.
Yeah, no, I don't really have anything else to.
1980 was a very big year because it was the
Very
dawn
big
of the. Well, it wasn't the dawn of the new generation of metal, but it was like.
I mean, we didn't even mention Ace of Spades, right? I mean,
No, we didn't mention Iron Maiden.
yeah.
We didn't mention Angel
Very
Witch.
funny.
We didn't mention either of the two Saxon albums. We didn't mention
No.
Diamond Head.
Yeah, exactly. You said it yourself. It's a phenomenal year.
It was very much, in my opinion, like the year where metal became like we know it today.
Yeah.
There was also Animal Magnetism, right, by Scorpion. So I mean,
yeah. And Pat Benatar, Crimes of Passion, one of my favorite rock singers of all time. It's a very solid. Whitesnake, Ready and Willing, Drama by Yes, another transition album. Very good year. Now, on from one transition year onto another, where old bands had to adapt or die out. We're moving on to 1990. Bido, what's your pick for 1990?
My pick for 1990 is a little album called Facelift by Alice in Chains.
And
I mean,
Peak.
it's
just peak.
It's a really good. It's the debut of another absolutely legendary band. I mean, it's quite self-explanatory, to be honest. I mean, it's Wayne Staley's vocals are obviously, I mean, incredible. He's easily one of the best vocalists of all time. Then obviously the guitar work is amazing as well. I mean, it's just super it's almost like sludgy in a way. Like it's almost like if sludge metal was less heavy in a way. I mean, yeah, every song is amazing, and then it was also just, I mean, it was super, super influential to grunge as a genre, and just like it really, really helped like put it out there and help popularize it. Even though Nirvana had released Numb already, I really think that this helped to get out there even more. I don't think grunge would be the same without Alice in Chains. So I think that's really all. I think that's really all I have to say.
I'll always say they're the heaviest grunge band. They're barely grunge. They're more of a metal band.
Here's the thing is, I don't really consider grunge as a genre. I think grunge is more so a movement, and they were 100% part of the grunge movement because they were from Salt Lake City. Like they were from the same city as all the other grunge bands. They have a kind of a similar sound, and they're definitely more metal than the other grunge bands, but they were still part of like the grunge movement, which is why I consider them a grunge band.
Yeah,
it's more so philosophy, right?
Yeah. I think the only issue with Facelift is the fact that the next album beats it in almost every way.
Yeah. You can't really compare it to Dirt.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is I love Facelift. I never really go back to it because if I'm in the mood for Alice in Chains, I mostly do just go
Dirt.
Yeah. But it is phenomenal.
It's still a great album, yeah. All right. Well, I'll take the floor, and I might get some heat from you guys. I don't know. It's Rest in Peace. I think objectively, I'm not saying it's my favorite metal album of all time, but if I had to rank metal albums objectively, this would undoubtedly be top 3 of all time. This is what really got me into metal. Before Megadeth, obviously I was into Black Sabbath. Obviously I was into Iron Maiden, but it was a lot of, and I'm still am, right? Really into rock. My dad listened to a lot of hard rock as well. Deep Purple, Riot Heap. But Megadeth is when and Metallica. But I first listened to Megadeth. That's when I decided I wanted to listen to more of this and less of that, right? And I mean, rest in peace. And when I first heard Holy Wars, and then followed by Hunger 18, followed by Signal Prisoners, I was in awe. I was on cloud nine, really. I love this album. I love the cover, the name, everything. I love this album.
No. It's the album I think Megadeth have been trying to make again and just keep failing at.
Yeah. That's my problem with
Megadeth. Best
Megadeth.
album, and it's not close.
And it's not close. And that's why. I'm sorry, you guys might have seen what happened on Twitter the other day. Not that I take any grudge, but since we're talking about it, this guy picked Peace Sells right for Megadeth's best album, and I just said that's the wrong Megadeth album, in my opinion. And he called me a cunt for it or something like that. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I objectively I think Rust in Peace is clear. We just talked about it with Alice in Chains, Dark being their best album. I think Rust in Peace is easily their best album. Very.
My issue with Megadeth, I like their first 7 albums. After that, I don't have any need for them.
After Euthanasia, it's no need to me.
I like
to be honest, I only care about Rest in Peace and Peace Cells. I don't care about anything else.
That's what I was going to say. It's those 2 albums are so good that they kind of just overshadow the rest of the discography. Like, I feel like, I said I have friends that say Megadeth's their favorite band, which fair enough if you like them. But I feel like people who say that mostly are just talking about the strength of those 2 albums. I feel like they have not made anything close to that quality in their discography.
I love Countdown to Extinction. I think it's better than Peace Cells, but that's me personally. But yeah, I mean, it's a long discography. It doesn't have, obviously, it has a lot to show for it because of their earlier works, but after that, it's miss after miss, really.
Yeah, modern Megadeth can go straight in the bin. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my god, Super Colliders. Oh my god.
I rated it as it's one of the few albums I've rated as. I genuinely think good about it. It's so.
I'll have to. It's so bad. I'll have to give it a proper review on it.
We'll have to do an episode where we make fun of Megadeth because this is fun. But what's it after Cryptic? I like Cryptic Writings. I go why people don't. But Risk, awful.
Yeah, it starts at Risk. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
World Needs a Hero is even worse.
It's a little better. It's a little better. It's
all right album. It has Kick the Chair, which is great. United Abominations, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Endgame. I know everyone likes the album, but I think
it's okay. I think it's the best modern Megadeth album, for sure.
Yeah. 13, awful. Super Collider, a war crime. Dystopia, I don't mind Dystopia.
I love the cover. I love the cover.
But one of the most recent is saved by having Kiko Luero of Angra on guitar, for me. The guitar work is phenomenal. Yeah. But the rest of the song is kind of there.
I love Kiko. Obviously, Brazilian, so.
Yeah.
Love Kiko.
I just wish he's. I know we're going off on a tangent, which is going to be a normal.
Yeah. We keep talking about Megadeth and how Dave was saying is a dick, and we're going to keep talking about it. So.
But Angra are. I just wish Kiko had stayed with Angra.
I know.
But that's his.
I love him. I love him in Angra. I love Angra
as well.
Yeah.
But my favorite album of 1990 is yet another transition album, and we talked about them briefly in the last one. But my pick is Painkiller by Judas Priest.
Yeah. Okay.
It was an album, and it's grown to be my favorite Judas Priest album. This was an album that this band had everything to lose. This was kind of like the last straw for a lot of people, Turbo and Ram It Down. I quite liked them, but they were weaker. They were far weaker than Defenders Screaming. And they, sold out, basically. They turned to almost a pop rock band.
Yeah.
And then they decided the way to save all their fans is not do what some bands do and try to just chase trends. They decided to get a drummer called Scott Travis and just to make the heaviest album of their career.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal. It's one of those albums that the more I listen to it, it just gets better and better every time. Painkiller is one of the best songs ever. Hell Patrol, Guns Blazing, Leather Rebel, Metal Meltdown, Nightcrawler, One Shot at Glory is so underrated.
True.
It's
It's a banger.
It's such a good closer as well.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite closers they've ever done.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But
I fucking love that song.
1990 is another great year. There were so many other albums I could have picked.
Yeah.
Come Up Souls.
Yeah. Still Got the Blues by Gary Moore I had down. Left Hand Path by Entombed I had down.
1990, I also had written down Earthland from Ozra Tentacles. Big Ozra Tentacles fan.
I've heard of them, but I haven't listened to them.
Very cosmic-y, prog rock. They're referred to as space rock, or it's prog rock, but with space elements. It's super good. I love them.
By Inheritance by Artillery I had down. Talisman of the Twilight World by Blind Guardian I had down.
I need to listen to more Blind Guardian.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I do know enough, but I have to listen to more of them.
Yeah, Seasons in the Abyss. Hammer Heart by Battery.
Blood.
Fallen Angel of Doom by Blasphemy, which I'm not sure if Bidder's one of the ones that likes that one.
I fucking love that album. I think album's peak.
Well, yeah, but I know this is going to be an inside joke, but in the group chat, there's like a 50-50 split on whether the album's a classic or if it's overrated as shit. But yeah, overall, another transition year, another year of bands having. I feel like every kind of end of the decade is a transition year.
Yeah.
So I feel like 2000 we're about to go into yet another transition year.
Heavy, yeah.
Yeah. Then from 1990, we're gonna break into the 21st century, and Bido, if you can give us your favorite album from the year 2K.
So I started off this list with two pretty accessible, two pretty popular albums, but now we're going straight to the opposite side of the spectrum with an album called Black Seeds of Vengeance by Nile. This is just like one of the absolute most brutal and heavy albums ever made. It is just so insanely pummeling. You just do not get a break for even a second in this album.
No, I love that.
Carl Sanders. Carl Sanders is easily one of my favorite guitarists of all time. His shit is so obscenely technical, but also so groovy, and so heavy and so brutal. It's great. I think the vocals are also. The vocals are also great. I kind of like what Nile does, where they kind of use multiple vocalists, and they don't really have like a single vocalist as a frontman, which I like. I think more bands should do that. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
The production could maybe use some work. Like it's a little like you can tell that it's kind of early. And
it's a little rough, yeah.
It's a little bit early into their career. It's only their second album, and the production could maybe use some work. But I think the production, because the production is very raw, and I think that also kind of helps with how brutal and heavy it is. And then like the vocals, kind of they're maybe a little bit low in the mix, but I think it's fine and raw, and also kind of just helped define their sound overall, and it would lead them to make some classic albums later in the 2000s, which I'm not going to get too into because I don't want to go on a tangent, but Nile, they're just like one of the absolute best death metal bands of all time.
I completely agree, and it's not talked about enough.
Yeah.
It is not talked about enough.
I feel like their last album got them quite a big push, which I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
When their last album came out, a lot of people chatting about him.
I have their whole discography in my death metal playlist, and how can you not? Their whole discography is so good, and I think it's so hard for a death metal, even with tech elements, to be so consistent. It's so hard to be so consistent.
Yeah, it really just proves how just obscenely creative Carl Sanders is. He's probably the most creative guitarist of all time. I'm gonna go as far as to say that. I think nobody writes just like riffs and solos in the way that he does. I think the only person who can really come close is like maybe Mohammed Sweetness, which is another tech death guitarist.
Dude, I love how they use vocals as an instrument. Obviously, vocals are an instrument, but the way it goes along with the guitar riffs, it makes it so much heavier than death metal usually is. absolutely love it.
Yeah, Nile is probably just like the heaviest straight up death metal band. I think they're like dissonant death metal bands and death doom bands. They're heavier, but like, if we're going to just like straight up death metal, I think Nile is probably the heaviest death metal band.
I love Nile.
All right, I guess one of you will go next now. I don't remember who was second, but
Okay. This is one of my favorite Porcupine Tree albums. It was a very big transition for them. Really their first transition was in 1999 with Stupid Dream, but Light Bulb Sun, which is the album I'm talking about in 2000, was also a big transition. Stupid Dream and Light Bulb Sun kind of go together in the house. Steven Wilson molded his sound for the rest of Porcupine Tree. Before then, it was mostly psychedelic. It was very, very Pink Floydish, and that's where he created his own sound. Very melancholic with some very upbeat melodies as well in some particular songs. He does like pop as well. Steven Wilson is, as I haven't mentioned here in the pod yet, but you guys know already, it's my favorite artist of all time. And Light Bulb Sun is one of my favorite albums from the band. And I mean, it has some absolute bangers. It doesn't have the consistency as some other Porcupine Tree albums have, but I mean, it has songs like Rush on Ice, She's Moved On, Light Bulb Sun, Hate Song. Hate Song, probably their absolute best bass song. Maybe it's up there. Where We Would Be, I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. It doesn't have, like I just said, it doesn't have the consistency because it kind of breaks it a little bit. Like it starts with Light Bulb Sun, and then it goes with shorter tracks with How Was Your Life Today in 4 chords and Made the Million. And it doesn't flow as good as other Porcupine Tree albums do, but that's where he really discovered that, I guess. And like I said before, I absolutely love this album. Rush on Ice is top 10 Porcupine Tree song for me.
I need to listen to more Porcupine Tree.
I mean, if you like progressive metal, progressive rock, I mean, there's absolutely nothing to miss. Everything you put on is going to be a banger. It's my it's absolutely my favorite band for a reason.
yeah, I need to listen to them more. I've only heard 2 of their albums, so.
But if you need some Rex, I am happy to do so.
I'm sure we will come back to that. I thought they're about. We're definitely going to come back to it at some point.
Yeah.
I'll keep glazing Steven Wilson Porcupine Tree. I just can't help it.
Well, my favorite album of 2000, not just my favorite album of 2000, but my favorite album of all time. Follow the Reaper by Children of Bodom.
Yeah.
I love Children of Bodom. I love the
Reaper. That someone else was the most creative guitar player. I would like to say that I think Alexei Leho is one of the best guitar players of all time. I think the Children of Bodom are only now kind of getting their due that how influential they were. But like a generation of guitarists were inspired by Alexei that people didn't really realize at the time was happening.
Yeah.
But I remember Bradley Hall, right?
Yeah.
Outside of his horrendous tier list opinions, he's a very good guitar player, and he did a video where he spoke about Children of Bodom and basically said Alexei was the reason he picked up a guitar. Because I think Alexei just plays in a really weird way that is so fun to listen to.
Yeah.
But I think I think you can make a very good point that Hatebreeder is their best. But
I think Hate Crew is probably my favorite from them. Hate Crew, Death Row. I absolutely love Hate Crew, but probably my top 3 right there.
I think you can't go wrong with it. You can't go wrong with the first 5.
No, you can't. No, you really can't. I love Follow the Reaper. I absolutely love it. My only complaint with Children of Bodom, and it's because it's just a big thing for me, some of their cover work is doubtful.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a bit too bright, and that's just because I love analyzing album covers. But
my issue with their art is they have a really good formula for the first 5.
They do.
And then they just stop doing it.
They stop doing it, exactly.
The last 2. Every album's supposed to have to be fair, they kind of break on Hate Crew Death Row having another red album as if they forgot there's only 3 colors.
Are You Dead Yet is so good, right? The cover? Unbelievably good.
Yeah. But then
But then
Blood
Blood Drunk, yeah,
genuinely
it's
it took me ages to realize that the rib cage wasn't like a weird mouth and the head was up at the top, and the proportions are so weird, and it just looks bad. Like there's nothing else to say about it. It just looks bad.
I think Hey Crew and Are You Dead Yet has their best album work, but I mean, it could have been better. It could have been better.
I think
Something Wild is nice. Something Wild is nice.
Yeah. But reading off the track list of Follow the Reaper is like reading off a greatest hits collection. Follow the Reaper, Bone Rock and Midnight, Children of Decadence. Mask of Sanity is one of the catchiest songs ever. Same with Hate Me. But Kissing the Shadows, the guitar solo on that is one of my favorite guitar solos of all time. And 100%. I hate it when people say, "Oh, I like Children of Bodom. Oh, I just wish they didn't have keyboards." Because I've seen so many people say that. I just think that defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
It's kind of lame, yeah.
The keyboards are so integral to their sound, and the way they play around with the guitars and the keyboards. I could talk about this album until...
I get it's not for everyone, but it's integral in how they make their sound. Absolutely.
I think that they arguably should have been bigger. I know they were big, but I feel like they should have been almost mainstream.
Yeah.
Do they have a...
They could have been like a Halloween of sorts, right?
Yeah, but they also because they didn't really they ever really turn metalcore, did they? Like In Flames and
no,
then what did?
I never listened to much of their later works. I'm not sure.
They're not bad. They're just kind of meh.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Like Alexi, you can tell as you go on, Alexi's addictions are just getting the better of him. And like the guitar playing stops being like neoclassical and just becomes kind of like average shred guitar, which is fine, still good. But like comparing it to like the solos of like Follow the Reaper and War, the name's gone my head. What's the opening of Hate Breeders? War. What is
Hey Crew?
Warheart.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah. We will definitely talk about Children of Bodom more on the pod, but for the base idea, I think Follow the Reaper is the greatest album of all time, so this was the easiest pick of the entire thing.
Just a quick note. I am currently browsing radio music just to take a further look at the years, see if we miss anything, and we did indeed miss Spiritual Healing in 1990. We never talked about it.
Yeah, with 1990, we missed a bunch. There was so many.
I know, but I'm just pulling this one out because Spiritual Healing marked me. Love Spiritual Healing.
We also missed Demolition Hammer, which really should.
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, we missed some more.
And we missed Pantera, Cowboys from Hell, the album that has 5 good songs. Then
get that shit band away from my face.
No, but in 2000 they released their greatest album ever, Reinventing the Steel. So good.
So good. Fucking dog shit.
And else any other picks for 2000?
I'm going to mention Clayman since it was.
I do have a pick.
It was one of 4 albums that got me into like more. Clayman isn't really an extreme metal album, but like it was one of the 4 albums that like really got me into metal. The other 3 albums being Slaughter of the Soul, The Jester Race, and Storm of West Bane. But Clayman, I think, really was like Clayman. I don't know. It's just a good album. Some people, it was kind of like when they kind of started moving away from like the Melodeath sound, more into like the kind of like more commercial sound. Like it's definitely their least heaviest album. I'd rather like Melodeath albums, even though it's not really Melodeath, but I still like it. I have a lot of nostalgia for it.
I feel like it's In Flames trying to do a Children of Bodom type album.
Yeah.
I mean, awesome. Like, yeah, it's less heavy, but the songwriting is so good that
doesn't it also have keys? Or am I misremembering? I feel like it has keys. Or I feel like Only for the Weak has keys, right? In the chorus.
I think so.
Yeah. Whatever.
I have some honorable mentions for 1990. Oh, sorry, 2000. Sorry, 2000. I'm talking about 2000. Brave New World by Iron Maiden. I love the album cover. I remember listening to my uncle. Absolutely loves this record. Perfect Element by Pain Salvation. I'm not sure if you guys are very familiar with Pain Salvation.
I've heard of them, but I never. I might have listened to one of their albums a while ago. I don't remember.
They're
much
Swedish.
From them.
They're Swedish.
I don't remember much from them.
Pain Salvation is a pillar to me in progressive metal. I mean, if I were to rank my favorite progressive metal bands, it's up there with Dream Theater. That's how good they are to me. You guys know I like Dream Theater a lot. Lift Your Skinny Fist like Antenna 7 by Godspeed, You Black Emperor. I like post rock a lot. I probably haven't told you guys this, but I do like post rock. And another post rock hit from 2000 was He Has Left Us Alone, but it's such a long name, but by A Silver Mount Zion. Okay. The whole name of the album is He Has Left Us Alone, but Shafts of Light Sometimes Grace Our Rooms. Probably the absolute two best post rock albums of all time. They released in the same year. And since we're talking about 2000s, I will talk of a record that I talked about on Twitter just recently. And it's, to me, one of my most overrated albums of all time that I don't get why people like it. So maybe you guys can lie to me, or maybe you guys agree with me. But that's Dope Throne by Electric Wizard.
You need to get in the bin. That's a fucking 10 out of 10 album.
I haven't listened to it, but considering me, I probably will.
You would hate it so much. It's like
I've listened to one Electric Wizard album, but
I'll have to give it another shot. Bito. I'm sorry, but maybe you agree with me though, Connor, for the time being. Maybe.
What's the Electric Wizard with the candle on it? From 2011 or something.
Hold on.
Ghost Reveries?
No. We're not talking about Opeth, are we?
I'm kidding. No.
Oh wait. Oh, you mean Black Masses, 2010?
Yeah, I've heard that one.
My last two are Close to a World Below by Immolation.
Yeah, that's another banger. That was my runner-up pick.
And Dead as Dreams by Wakeling. You guys know I love it. Atmospheric black metal. And to a lot of people, this is the absolute best atmospheric black metal album. Not so high for me, but it's an absolute banger.
Yeah, it's good.
Honorable mentions for me are very different. Halford Resurrection. Rob Halford again, having to go through yet another resurgence after he spent the 90s doing whatever the fuck 2 was, which was like an industrial metal rock gig thing. It was very weird. And the groove metal stuff with the guitarist who would later go into Steel Panther, which I always find quite funny. Brutal Planet by Alice Cooper is him doing an industrial thing, but it really works. Severely underrated band called Angel Dust, an album called In Light in the Darkness. This was a power metal band from the 80s that released like 2 albums.
I think I've heard of the band.
I probably have brought it up to you before. They came back in the 90s, and this is a concept album about Nazi Germany, and it's very good. It's phenomenal. Dark Ride by Halloween.
Yes.
Which was Halloween turning a lot darker, which in my opinion was only for the best. I think that and the album before it are their best, with Andy Darrows on vocals. Winds of Creation by Decapitated. It's a great debut.
I need to listen to more Decapitated. I haven't really listened to them at all. And
Wishmaster by Nightwish. I know a lot of people don't really like Nightwish, but I love early Nightwish when they were being a power metal band. Wishmaster isn't quite as good as the album before it, but it is great. And notable album that none of us picked, but I'm sure people have stuff to say about it, is Gateways to Annihilation by Morbid Angel, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I like it. A lot of people say it's...
I'm okay with it.
And then we also forgot The Sickness by Disturbed, but...
Do not bring that fucking album up ever. I don't want to hear that dog shit ever again in my life.
Yeah, but I had to sit through it all the way through. But
don't make me stoop down to your level. That's your stuff. That's your problem.
I know. All right, from 2000s, we're skipping forward 10 more years onto 2010.
This is an album. None of you guys are gonna have heard of this album. This is from a pretty underground band. There's an album called Solve et Coagula by a band called The Secret.
Okay.
And it's pretty damn unique. I've never really heard anything that sounds like this album. It's basically a mix between black metal, sludge metal, and hardcore / metalcore. It's like if Dark Throne and Converge had a baby, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
It's super super chaotic and just like pummeling and heavy.
Mhm.
The production is just really really nasty and sludgy. And it's like very disgusting. It makes you feel like I think it's really good. The vocals are a little bit low in the mix, which kind of sucks. But like, it's not that big of a deal. It's also just very very groovy. Like it just makes you want to bang your head, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean it is highly underrated. I haven't seen anybody ever talk about it. I don't think. So I want to give some attention to that because it's a great album. I think people should. So I don't know how much you guys like. It's not metalcore as in like modern metalcore. It's like old school metalcore. Like I said, Converge. It's
Right.
very inspired them, and I know Connor isn't the biggest fan of metalcore. I don't know if you even listen to any old school metalcore, but if you do like old school metalcore, you'll love this album.
I hear you.
So I'll let you guys go now.
Hey, I don't hate old school metalcore, but I don't.
I don't have an opinion. I never actually gave it a proper listen, so
I don't
to-
hate it, but it's far better than whatever the pop rock they
Yeah.
that's for nowadays.
okay. All right, so I guess this is me next. I have a few albums lined up for 2010, and it's really hard for me to pick. Really, really hard for me to pick. I still haven't made a choice, but I will choose this one. I don't think it's objectively the best out of these three, and I'll just say the three, and I'll say which is my pick. The three options that I came up with that was really close to picking was Island by Dark Fortress, Marrow of the Spirit by Agalok, and the album that I'm picking, which is Abracadabra by Dimmu Borgir. Now, I don't think Abracadabra is better than Marrow of the Spirit. I mean, it probably is better than Marrow of the Spirit to me. I think Island to me is the best of the three albums, but the reason why I'm picking Abracadabra is because it was the album that actually got me into black metal. I never actually listened to black metal before Dimmu Borgir. Dimmu Borgir was the band that introduced me to black metal, and it was Abracadabra that was the album that did it. It was Gateways live, or was it Born Treacherous? I think it was Gateways live with an orchestra, and I completely fell in love with it. Um, so a lot of emotional value with this album, and I think it's severely underrated on Radio Music. It's like a 2.9 or something. I think it's an absurd crime. I think it's an absurd crime. Anyone who likes symphonic black metal absolutely loves this album. Maybe the early fans of Dimmu Borgir don't like it so much. It's very, very different from the early Dimmu Borgir stuff. But I think objectively it's a beautiful, beautiful album.
I've never been the biggest Dimmu Borgir fan. I think I view them kind of in a similar way that I view Cradle of Filth, but like I've never been the biggest fan, but I can see why you would like them.
They have progressive elements, right? I love symphonic stuff. I love orchestral stuff. So that's probably why it hooked me so much.
Yeah.
100%. What you got for us, Connor?
For my favorite album of all time in 2000, my favorite band of all time, it's probably 10. I'm going to go for At the Edge of Time, Blind Guardian. I think this is their most underrated album. Maybe isn't as good as all the classic era stuff, or at least a lot of the classic era stuff, but it comes very close. It's at least my favorite album post Nightfall. It's arguably their heaviest album post Nightfall, at least until their newest one. But Songs of Sacred Worlds, I think, is a phenomenal opener. Tanner Lawn, Ride to Obsession are really heavy. It's just A Voice in the Dark, one of my favorite Blind Guardian songs. It has the band going for their progressive and more symphonic elements, but they don't go overboard with them as they tend to do on some of their other albums, in my opinion. I love it. I listen to it a lot. It's probably my favorite Blind Guardian album.
Really?
After the 90s? No, not my favorite
album. Okay. Okay.
I've heard a lot of people say it is their favorite, and I can't really complain. It's one of those albums that I think if more people gave it a chance, then, and a lot of people's complaints about Modern My Guardian, I agree. I don't agree with, but I can understand. I don't accept with that album. I think it does let out their heavier side quite a bit.
But which one is your favorite? Nightfall?
No, Somewhere Far Beyond.
Somewhere, okay.
Somewhere Far Beyond, Imaginations, and Nightfall are my three favorites. But I love the early metal stuff.
I love Follow the Blind. I mean, obviously, I prefer those three, but Follow the Blind is. I love Follow the Blind.
I mean,
I haven't heard all their albums, but
so
me being a Tolkien nerd, Nightfall is obviously my number one.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, to me as well.
all their albums have Tolkien nerd on it. Their first ever song is about some sort. I don't know. So I'm gonna say some sort of Tolkien stuff because I know they say Gandalf in it. So
a song called
Majesty.
I mean, they have a song in Battalions of Fear called "By the Gates of Moria," right? So
yeah, they're massive Tolkien nerds.
Mm-hmm.
Massive nerds just as a whole. In the
yeah, they have a song called Valhalla, right? And Follow the Blind, like
yeah.
Yeah.
With it, one of them, their more recent on their last album has a song based on the Witcher franchise. I don't know if it's based on the games or the books, but they just have a song based on that. They have a song based on Play the Crucible, which is quite cool.
All right. Well, you want to move on to 2020s?
Does anyone else have any honorable mentions or other albums?
I said mine. Do you guys listen to a lot of Dark Fortress or listen to a lot of Dark Fortress?
I've never
Dark. Let me see.
Man,
Dark
you guys are missing
Fortress.
out. Jeez, you guys are missing out.
I think I've heard of this band before. Yeah, I've
guys-
heard of them. I'm not sure. I might have listened to one of their albums a while
My
ago.
absolute favorite vocalist of all time is in this band. I mean, that's saying something. Talking about Dio, Linderman, two of my favorite vocalists of all time. I love Serge Tankian as well, obviously. I'm a big System of a Down fan, but it's Maureen from Dark Fortress is my absolute favorite vocalist. And that's not why I love Dark Fortress. They're phenomenal. I probably describe them as like progressive black metal, I guess. Melodic-ish, I guess. Phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
So my picks from 2010, we're going to get the elitists very, very mad at us because I'm going to mention Ghost. I think Opus Eponymous is a very good.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
I
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love Ghost.
Probably their heaviest album. Probably.
No, it is definitely their heaviest album.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so
phenomenal. Fintroll released Nifelvind. I didn't know they're Finnish.
I can help you pronounce it. Nifelvind.
One of the first black metal albums I listened to, my friend told me, you need to check them out. They're more folk black metal. They're very good. It's unfortunate when I saw them live, they weren't very good because it was one, those shows where you can't hear the vocals and you can't hear anything else over the guitars and stuff.
Oh, was the mixing then?
But it's not so them. I mean, obviously it's kind of them, but it's mostly production, right?
Yeah. No, I'm not saying they were bad, but I'm just saying like the show.
I hear you.
They had a shitty sound guy.
And also because they're folk metal, all the folk sounds were also being overpowered by the guitars. And I mean this in the best way possible. You listen to them not really for the guitar work because the guitars are like kind of classic black metal where it's like mostly just like not chugging, but like
tremolo
you know what I mean with
tremolo picking.
And that's fine, but you need other stuff to kind of make it more interesting. And without that stuff that makes it more interesting, it just made it quite a boring show, which was unfortunate. But they're very good. If you've not, are either of you fans of Fintroll or?
I know I have them on my list, but I haven't listened to them yet.
They're very good. Their latest album was also very good as well. I also have Exhibit B, The Human Condition by Exodus. Exodus for me are a band that are either phenomenal or awful. They are basically a hit or miss band. This is when they had Rob Dukes, who is now their singer again. And I think he's the best vocalist they've ever had. Actually, no, Paul Bailoff's my favorite, but he's the best vocalist they've ever had. Heat Freedom Rock. I think Heat are Swedish, or HEAT. I think they're Swedish. Just a hard rock band. Very good. And Gamma Ray, To the Metal. Not one of the best Gamma Ray albums, but still a lower Noah Wrong, Gamma Ray album is still amazing for those of other bands.
I am again looking through regular music, and there's yet another behemoth of an album, to my taste, that I did not mention previously in the 2000s, and that's Disconnected by Fates Warning. I have this LP, and I don't have a bunch of LPs. I have less than 50, and this was one of my priorities to buy because I absolutely love this album.
I haven't listened to that. I need to listen to more Fates Warning. I've heard Awaken the Guardian.
They're so good. They're so good.
And
they have Awaken the Guardian. They have No Exit, Spectre Within. But this is definitely... They have a bunch of albums. I'm just mentioning some. Theories of Flight, a recent one, very proggy. But Disconnected, for sure, my favorite. For sure, my favorite.
Yeah, I've only heard Awaken.
You guys are missing out as well. If I were to give you guys immediate recs to listen to, it would be Dark Fortress and Fates Warning. Both are phenomenal.
I love the two albums I've heard. I've just never. It's one of those bands I've never kind of experimented with more.
I hear you.
Really much, but yeah.
Well, you guys want to go to 2020s?
Yeah, the most recent one, as of now, so we're calling this 2020. Peter, what's your pick?
So now we're going to one of my absolute favorite albums of all time, specifically my fourth album of all time.
Okay. Oh, hey. I think I know this one.
This album is called Under a Godless Veil by a little band called Draconian. And I mean,
yeah, you got into Draconian recently.
This album is just, yeah. It's probably their least heavy. It's probably their least heavy album.
It's the most melodic that I've heard from them. I haven't listened to a lot of it, but it was for sure the most melodic. And
they're a very melodic band. Like, they're not a super heavy band. But this album, like, this is definitely their least heavy band. But I feel like it's also their most, like, it's their most, like, I want to say it's the most beautiful album. Like, it's their most, like,
articulate, maybe.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. And I mean, the harsh vocals, I mean, as usual, Anders Jacobson is obviously he's a fucking amazing harsh vocalist. His harsh vocals are just super, super, like, ferocious and just... They're really good. And then obviously, probably at least definitely the highlight of this album being the clean vocals from Heike Langhans.
100%.
I mean, this album has my favorite clean vocal performance of all time. I think Heike's vocals are just, I mean, she is probably my favorite clean vocalist of all time. My second favorite clean vocalist of all time being Draconian's other vocalist. Her voice is just, like, it's very powerful at times, but I think the thing that I most like the most about it is it's very, like, intimate and soft. Like, it's very, like, yeah, I guess intimate. It's
her vocals in Sorrow Sophia can really make a grown man cry, I'll tell you.
Yeah, true. The guitar work it's very, very simple. Like, it's not very complex or technical. Which kind of makes sense considering it's.
But sometimes it doesn't have to be, right? Sometimes it doesn't have to be.
With Death Doom, you don't really need to be technical. You just, like, it's very simple, but it's very effective. And yeah, it just gives off. It has an absolutely amazing atmosphere, and yeah, like I said, it's my fourth favorite album of all time. I absolutely love this band, and I absolutely love this album. So.
Yep. I'm in the same conundrum as I was with the 2010s. That I have 4 big picks here, and I actually don't know which one to pick. I am leaning towards one, but I'll just list them real quick, and then that's just gonna serve as honorable mentions as well. Day at the Beach by Airbag, very much like progressive rock, Pink Floydish. Quadra by Sepultura, I think it's extremely underrated. I don't know how to pronounce this, guys. It's in, I believe, in Danish, but it's by Apsky. Of the Gig. Yeah, of the Gig. And Endless Wound by Black Curse. I'm probably going to end up picking Endless Wound by Black Curse in this one. I think this is probably an S tier black metal of all time. But then if you rank it compared to modern black metal, it's an absolute behemoth of a modern black metal album. It's American, and Americans are known not to make the best black metal work, right? But Black Curse is, and obviously Agalock, right? But just extreme exceptions to this because Endless Wound is somehow revolutionized the genre. Obviously, it's very hard to do that after, Blackwater was not an album that changes a lot, right? But to the context of it being a modern album, it really is different. It's to its peers in the 2020s. I think it's a phenomenal album. I was shocked. I was blown away when I first heard this album, and I often find myself going back to it. I think it's a phenomenal album.
Yeah. So, before you start, Conrad, I want to list one honorable mention that I forgot to mention earlier for the 2020s, and that is "Stare Into Death and Be Still" by Ulcerate. As a dissonant death metal fan myself, I obviously love Ulcerate. They're probably behind Gorguts and Ad Nauseam. They're probably the third best dissonant death metal band. And Stare Into Death and Be Still, they've been great since their second album, but Stare Into Death and Be Still was kind of the album where they moved into more of like an atmospheric and melodic sound compared to just like straight up just chaos that was their earlier albums. I mean, this album is still very, very chaotic, and it's it's dissonant death metal, which means it's obviously going to be chaotic, but
very chaotic. Yeah.
It leans much more into their melodic and like atmospheric sound. Like it's almost like post metal in a way.
Yeah.
And I think it's a 10 out of 10 album. I think it's absolutely incredible. I don't really have any more to say to that, so Connor, you can go on.
2020 is a very good year, in my opinion. Just like, in my opinion, every year of the 2020s, I feel like we are at a very good decade for music, just overall. Some honorable mentions before we start. Obsidian by Paradise Lost. It's a great. Forever Black by Sirius, their return after 30 years of inactivity. I would say it's one of their best, but in my opinion, it's not, purely because their entire discography is perfect. Symbol Remains by Royster Cult, another return after about 20 years. It has no need to be as good as it is, and I really hope we get another album full of original material from them before they break up, because if that album is any indication, they have plenty left. Deadlord Surrender's a great hard rock album. Banquet Haunt released 3 albums that year. Flashback is my favorite original. Mind Freeze is great. And then they released an album called Triumph, which is re-recordings of their 2 EPs, which is phenomenal. Witch Hazel, who are like a Christian rock band, probably the only Christian rock band I actually like, based around Pentecost, which is great. Fintroll released an album that I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name of because I don't even know how to say that. But very good album. Lady Beast, who are a very good metal band, and their vocalist is one of my favorite ever. She has a great voice. Released an album called Vulture's Amulet. Arrows and Aspic are a great progressive rock band. They released an album called Manners and Magic. I don't listen to it much anymore, but I used to listen to it every day. But my favorite 2, I was torn between 2 traditional metal albums. I was torn between Traveller, Termination Shock, and Ambush, Infidel. And I decided to go Termination Shock by Traveller. Infidel's great. It's just a bit more commercial. I think Traveller unfortunately, they have now broken up. But the 3 albums they released are phenomenal. Termination Shock was my favorite until their most recent one. Starts with the song Shaded Mirror, which is phenomenal. Iron Maiden, STK, Deep Space, Terra Exodus. It's so good. It's arguably their heaviest, very speed metal. Great album cover. They're a band I really wish would carry on going, because I genuinely think they were one of the best bands around, and I was lucky to see them before they broke up. I think they are Canada, and they're very much taking influence from bands like Exciter and Razor, stuff like that. I feel like that kind of speed metal sound. Check out Traveller. They deserved a lot more, and we luckily got 1 album out from them last year, which was one of my favorites of last year. So, yeah. But
Lovely.
With that, we've done the done the main portion of it, and we're only over an hour in.
Yeah.
So many good albums mentioned, right? Holy shit! That was
Let's
just
talk
around the years.
We're going to talk about one album from 2025, right?
Yeah. So probably explained this in the first one, but as I did say before, this is our first recording. In every single episode, we're going to talk about one album from 2025 that we all like or might not like. It might have been a disappointment, might have been something we found out that we loved, might be an album from a band we all like. Only one of us may have heard it, all of us may have heard it. It doesn't matter. It's just an album that we want to talk about, basically. It doesn't need to be good, it doesn't need to be bad. Just now we want to talk about. And so, Vitor, what's your pick for a 2025
So
album?
my pick is an album called A Plague Upon Thee by a band called Apocalypse Orchestra. This is a band, I forgot to say it earlier, but this is a band from my city. They're a local band, and I saw them live the day after this album came out, a couple of weeks ago. I forgot to say that earlier, but they were great, by the way. And this is like Apocalypse Orchestra. They definitely have a very unique sound. They're basically medieval folk music mixed with doom metal. It's very, very unique. It's very, very cool. I think it's great.
Their album covers are very cool. Have a look at them now. Their album covers are beautiful.
Yeah, their album covers are great. They have this they're just doom metal mixed with medieval folk metal. What more can you really say about that? I think they're great. I think they're underrated as hell. And I think I want more people to know about them since they're a local band. So that's what I wanted to talk about. That's what I wanted to bring up.
So I already talked about this artist in this episode, and I'm sure you guys know which album I'm talking about, but it's The Overview by Steven Wilson. I've been waiting for this album very, very anxiously ever since it was announced, and it thoroughly surpassed my expectations. Steven Wilson is one thing I love about Steven Wilson is he is very broad in his music. He has pop-based albums, he has synth-based albums in his solo works, but he always makes music towards what he feels and what he wants to make. So whatever he ends up making is going to be good for whoever likes that type of genre. So I don't like his pop work, I don't like his synth work, but I mean that's just me, right? But this album, The Overview, it's a progressive rock, progressive metal masterpiece to me already. I can call it. Is absolutely phenomenal. I use the word peak a lot, but this to me is literally peak. Looking at his discography as a whole, Porcupine Tree and Steven Wilson, I can only confidently put two albums ahead of it, and that's Fear of a Blank Planet, which is my absolute favorite album of all time, so it's kind of unfair, but Fear of a Blank Planet and The Raven That Refused to Sing, which to a lot of people is the best. Yeah, to a lot of progressive metal fans, that is the best progressive metal album of all time. So it's hard to put The Overview ahead of those two, but it's to people who like Pink Floyd, to people who like progressive metal, this is a sure thing to like. And even in the second song, this album is two songs. I forgot to mention this. This album is two songs, both being first song is 23 minutes long. The first song is 18 minutes long. So it's a trip. Even in the second song, the first 6-ish minutes has a lot of electronica stuff that is not my favorite, but he makes it fit so good. That's why he wanted to put in, and he made it fit so good with the theme of the album. I think he really surpassed himself with his album. It's absolutely great.
I don't know much Steven Wilson, but would you say it's better than his last couple? So I've heard his last
100%. So let me open here his discography. I like to visualize things. So by his couple, you mean Harmony Codex and the Future Bites, correct?
The Bites mainly, yeah.
Yeah, so Future Bites is his worst work. Future Bites to me is his worst work, but so some people say it's his favorite solo album because I mean people who like Coldplay are gonna like the Future Bites, for instance. It's very poppy. So to people who like that, they're gonna like that. I don't like it, but Harmony Codex is much better than Future Bites for me. It has a beautiful, beautiful song in Staircase. It has Rock Bottom. Impossible Tightrope is a very heavy progressive song. It's his album that mixes pop and progressive the best. And I don't like the albums too much as a whole, as compared to the overview because of that mix, right? But to me, it's still a beautiful, beautiful album. I'll probably put it at 3.5 stars, maybe. I don't want to put a 4 because 4, I'm calling it great. I don't think it's great. I think it's good. I think it's a good album. And like I said, it has 3 songs that I would consider some of his best work, among his best work, like Staircase, Rock Bottom, and Impossible Tightrope. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it's definitely better than his last 2 albums.
My list to check out. I've been meaning to properly get into, as I've said previously on the pod. There's some I've been meaning to get into. Even more than Poetry. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you were to get started, I don't want to tell you to start with Fear of a Blank Planet just because I don't like recommending people my favorite album, right? Because I don't want to give you the best up front. I want you to feel the band first. So with Porcupine Tree, I would probably ask you to start with Deadwing. And with Steven Wilson, I would probably tell you to start. See, with Steven Wilson is hard because Insurgents is very niche, and so is Grace for Drowning. His closest work to Porcupine Tree is The Raven That Refused to Sing and Hen Cannot Erase. But I think it's fair to go chronologically with Steven Wilson, starting with Insurgents and then Grace for Drowning, Raven, Hen Cannot Erase. I think it's fine. Because it's very much different from Porcupine Tree. But if I would tell you one album to start with Steven Wilson, it would be Hen Cannot Erase. And I think it's a very, very good start.
All right. My pick for a 2025 album is one I know at least B1dd0 has heard. And it is A March of the Unheard by The Halo Effect. Now, this is by no means my favorite album of the year, but I do think it was an album that it didn't shock me. But I've not heard their previous albums, so I can't judge it compared to that. I don't know if it's better or worse. But the exact thing I used to describe this is it is the album that In Flames have been refusing to make for 20 years.
And what a beautiful cover, right?
Yeah, the cover art is awesome.
What a beautiful cover.
This is a band made up of basically just old In Flames members, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And it sounds like classic In Flames. Basically, if you like classic In Flames, this is basically what they would still be doing today if they didn't hear Soulfly play.
If Jesper didn't leave the band and they didn't hear Soulfly.
But the guitar work on this is phenomenal. The shredding's great. It's very fun. It's just a very fun album. I've gone back to it quite a bit throughout the year. I do think it's not a perfect album. It kind of drags a bit, I think. I feel like
it gets a little samey towards the end.
I feel like Mellow Death, I feel like it's something that Children of Bodom do very well. 30 to 35 minutes for the most part, I think is perfect length for Mellow Death.
Yeah.
I just think this album, well, none of the latest songs are bad. You kind of, by the 5th song, you kind of know what you're getting into with every song.
Yeah.
But it's not really any surprises. It's not an album that's going to break any boundaries, not an album that's gonna, change anything. It is very by the numbers, but in a very good way, if that makes sense. But yeah, a very, very strong album that I'd highly recommend to people. And I really wish them well. And I really wish, because this album specifically has done pretty well for them. I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and I kind of hope this does push In Flames to.
Yeah, they took a step in the right direction with Foregone, so maybe.
Well, we can hope. They also took a step in the right direction with Come Clarity, and then fell backwards off the stairs, down a cliff, and then made Battles. So it's not all perfect, but yeah. And for our final segment, we spin a wheel every week. That we have about 40 albums on. We each chose 10. Of course, Nick, who's not here for this one, she chose 10. The rest of us chose 10 albums.
Yep.
Whatever it lands on, we listen to it. We may not all like the album. We may all like the album for this one. I'm pretty sure we all like the album, at least.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The wheel this time landed on the third album by the French metal legends. I think they are big enough now that we can call them legends.
Yes.
Gojira. From Master Sirius, I'd argue their biggest album, at least culturally their biggest album.
Culturally, yes.
I think it's the one that if you mention Gojira,
if you think of Gojira, you're thinking of from Master Sirius.
100%.
Yeah, that's one. Of course, I'm gonna just read through some of the stuff about the album before we talk about it. You know, but basically the album that made them. The Link kind of got them a bit of a buzz, but this was the album that
truly put them in the map. Yeah,
it took them out of the underground.
The personnel, you got Joe Duplantier and Mario Duplantier, who are the vocalists and drums, the brothers.
Mario is a good drummer.
Pronunciation. Yeah. You're Christian and Andrew.
Andrew, yep.
On lead guitar, and you got Jean-Michel Labadie on bass, who they play on every single album by Gojira.
And it's a great lineup.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
But yeah, was the album that made them. I'm not sure, it only charted in France, but number 44. But I'd argue in the years since it came out has basically become one of, I think, the defining metal albums of the 2000s.
Yeah.
I think we think of 2000s metal, it's one of those.
100%.
And of course, the band very much got a lot of buzz playing at the French Olympics. They were.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to be.
They're going to kill it.
Their next album is going to be massive.
I think.
And I hope it's really good because I love this band. I don't want to see them.
It's probably going to come out. It's probably going to come out this year with that interview, Mario.
Oh, dude, that would be so nice.
Because he did an interview. It was in French, but he very much implied that they want to release their next album in this year.
I would love that.
It's been ages since the last one. It's Gojira. They kind of take ages between albums.
Yeah.
But
speaking of that,
I would argue that them playing the Olympics is the biggest stage metal has ever been on.
It's the most singular. It's the most amount of eyes that has been on metal at like one singular point.
Yeah, that's what I'm meaning.
Because there was like 1.3 billion people watching that or something like that. Yeah. Something insane like that.
They didn't. Did they win the Grammy for it? They did, right?
They won the Grammy. They won the Grammy.
Yes.
The Grammy finally did something good.
So well deserved.
Yeah, man, I'm surprised Metallica didn't win again.
For something, sorry, we're going on another tangent. But if you're going to listen to the podcast, you're probably used to this by now. Or on the second episode, but Metallica winning a thing for something they released not last year.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell that got nominated. What were the nominations? Sorry for this.
I think it was Spirit Box. It was that one Knocked Loose and Poppy song. It was Metallica, and it was Gojira. Oh, and it was Judas Priest as well.
Yeah. I wouldn't have been too upset if Judas Priest won.
Yeah.
It's better than 2024 when Metallica won and Disturbed. Disturbed were nominated. Ghost were nominated for their cover of Phantom of the Opera. Why?
Yeah.
Slipknot were nominated for Hive Mind. Why? And Spirit Box were nominated. Which,
to be
honestly,
fair, Hive Mind wasn't a bad song, but Slipknot is not good enough.
It was the best song on it, but I'll be honest, I don't understand the Grammys because like some bands will put on full albums and then we're on a tangent. But
let's go back to more serious.
If you want to go over what your thoughts are from Mars is Sirius.
Well, it is one of my favorite albums of all time. It used to be in my top 5, but now it's in my top 10. I mean, every single song on this album is really as perfect as can be. There's not a single thing that I would change about this album at all. Um, it is one of the albums. I did listen to it pretty early on into my metal career, and I mean, the second I listened to it, I loved it instantly. I think really does well. Is it's very, very heavy and it's very crushing. It's not super melodic, but it's still super, super emotional. And like it is very, very like I cry every single time I listen to Global Warming. And Where Dragons Dwell too. I mean, somehow managed to get both super, super groovy and super, super heavy and super, super crushing riffs, but also being super, super melancholic and super, super emotional. And I think it just does everything. It does everything that it's trying to do absolutely perfectly. And I mean, yeah, there's just not much. There's not much that I can say about it that hasn't already been said. To be honest. So that's really all I have to say.
Yeah, you tried the point home, and I completely agree that every single song in this album is absolutely perfect, and I completely agree with you. The thing is, to me, this might not even be the best Gojira album, and like, I keep going back and forth with From Mars to Sirius and The Way of All Flesh. The next week I say, 1 week I say From Mars to Sirius, the other I say The Way of All Flesh. But this is just me saying that these are two of my all-time favorite albums, and From Mars to Sirius has, I mean, songs like Word Dragons. Well, I mean, From Mars into that transition into Sirius. You mentioned global warming. From the Sky, Ocean Planet is a perfect opener. It's a perfect album. I mean, it's a literal 5 star. It's a literal 10 out of 10. There's nothing that you said that I could have said better, or that I could have added to it, other than simply agreeing with the feeling that I love this album, and I hope they can somehow replicate the success of From Mars to Sirius in The Way of a Flash, because they absolutely goated.
Yeah, Gojira, one of the first metal bands I properly got into that weren't like an old band. Well, they kind of are old, but I got into them when Fortitude came out. And I loved that album. And that was the first thing I listened to from them. And I also heard Way of All Flesh. And then I saw them live before listening to anything else. And I think I listened to Magma, which I didn't like at the time because it was weird. It was sad. I didn't like sad Gojira. I wanted them to be heavy.
The Gojira Live is great. I was able to see them. So fucking good.
They were phenomenal. They were so
good. So fucking good.
And the day after, I listened to From Mars to Sirius, and I was just mind blown. I think it is basically a perfect album.
It's a masterpiece.
Top 20 of all time. I think Backbone and From the Sky they're so heavy, but they're so good.
Don't forget In the Wilderness.
Yeah.
Backbone might be their heaviest song ever. Backbone might be their heaviest song.
The vocal performance on that is phenomenal. I think the vocal performance on this entire album is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think that my thing with Gojira that I love is they are crushingly heavy, but it's never hard to listen to. Which is my issue with a lot of like brutal death metal. And I know they are brutal death metal, but stuff like brutal death metal, I just find it very hard to listen to for long periods of time because it's just so heavy that
sometimes things are unnecessarily heavy to me. Maybe this is the progressive head in me. Gojira are extremely heavy, but they know how to do it so well.
They make it so easy to listen to, and it's a 67-minute album.
It's a decently sized album.
So to listen to. I don't think anything could be cut. I think it's perfect. I think the sequencing is perfect. I think the drums. It's one of my favorite drum albums of all time.
Yep.
But I think
Mario's so good. Holy shit.
Despite the fact I think he's finally getting his dues, I think he's still underrated. And yeah, it's my favorite Gojira album. Way of All Flesh is close because it was one of the first I ever got into. And that has Toxic Garbage Island on it, right?
Yes. Toxic Garbage Island, it has dude, if I keep looking at The Way of All Flesh too much, I will say it's my favorite Gojira album. The Way of All Flesh, Wolf Down the Earth, Art of Dying. I had to stop. Let me go back up to From Mars to Sirius. Okay.
Yeah.
It's so fucking.
It's phenomenal. But I feel like it's one of those albums that barely anyone dislikes. And I feel
If you like metal, if you like
Yeah.
groove, even my dad, he's a huge prog head. He absolutely loves this album. Like, it's so hard to dislike this album. I can't see it personally.
I feel like standing out in 2005, which was already a stacked year already. You know, I'm not going to talk about it now, so we'll get onto that another time. But there's so many good albums that came out that year, and to stand out as not just the best album of that year for me, but by far the best album of that year.
I don't know about by far. Ghost Reveries came out.
I know, but for me, it's by far.
I'm horrible with years. Let me go look at 2005.
2005 was probably 2005 was an insane year.
Probably the best year of the 2000s.
I'm seeing Ghost Reveries.
I'd say 2001 was the best year, but 2005 was definitely the second best year.
Yeah, I think if you're listening, you probably come to the conclusion that we all think this album is completely perfect. And yeah, there's nothing really more to say. It is basically just a perfect album.
Yeah. Another honorable mention I forgot to say. A band I completely forgot when we were doing our decades, right? I forgot to mention Enslaved in 2 occasions. Exomia Etica Odini in 2010 and Utgard in 2020. I think they're both good honorable mentions. This is not their best work. They have 2 albums that I hold to a very high standard, but they're good works, especially Exomia.
Yeah. So
I'm a fan of Enslaved.
I need to listen to Enslaved.
They're great. I like their 90s stuff the most. They're just like straight up black metal stuff, but their modern stuff is great too.
For sure.
Also, something we forgot to mention about from our Sirius is the lyrics. I think the lyrics are phenomenal.
The lyrics are so good.
And it's so hard for metal bands to get lyrics that are so touching to the audience, right? It's not so often that you can do that.
Yeah. And they are a band that have made actual change, which is always good. But yeah, I also think it is Gojira's first great album. I like The Link. I
think all their albums are great. I think Terra Inc. is a fucking phenomenal debut.
Yeah.
I think so, but I think you can definitely draw a line between The Link and Terra, and after that, like their works that follow to me are superior.
Except for the album they found us sound on.
I just love Terra Inc. because it's just so heavy. It's just so fucking brutal.
I like Fortitude a lot. I think it's quite slept on. I think a lot of people shit on it.
People shit on it because it's their most accessible album. It's their least heavy album, but I don't think that necessarily means it's bad.
It's like Opeth fans.
Yeah, I think it's great. I like Magma. You talked about Magma earlier. Magma was actually the very first LP I bought. Well, I bought 2 LPs on my first ever LP purchase, and it was Magma and Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, which actually Nico signed it. I went to a meet and greet, and it's the only LP that I have signed. Anyway, just a piece of fun fact there. Le Fond Sauvage is also absolutely phenomenal. Probably their most melodic work, maybe. Perhaps.
The most melodic of their heavier stuff.
I guess, yeah.
But I feel like it's not brought up how influential Gojira were. I do feel like, we've spoken a lot about it in this episode with like fans like Jonah Bodum and stuff like that, but I do genuinely think that Gojira very much influenced a lot of bands, and I think you're only really seeing the like impact crater they left is starting now.
Yeah.
Now you're starting to hear it a lot more.
Because Gojira are very much a modern band.
Yeah. Well, modern as in they started 25 years ago.
Well, I mean, but most of their albums had released, like relatively recently, right? Like that's super long. Like in the grand scheme of metal, that it's existed for 55 years now. They're pretty recent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was from us, Sirius. If you couldn't tell, we all really like it. I think it's a pretty good album.
Maybe in the future we get some more controversial ones, right? So it actually gets to more heated levels of conversation. Maybe that'll be exciting.
No, it's a spoiler. There's a Pantera album on there that one person likes, and the rest of us really, really don't like. So just get ready. There'll be plenty more of just us not gushing over stuff when we get onto other topics and things like that. But
I should have, we should have put out another Pantera album just to make sure, we had a chance of getting it.
It'll turn up at some point. But
we'll get there.
So that'll probably be it for this episode.
Yeah.
Hopefully get better at this as we go on. But it's gone pretty well for the first.
Thought it was great. Yeah.
One. And
see you guys next week.